Almost there.
Nice. Oh no, I don't know my water.
All righty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wonder Series. It is Wonder Series Wednesday, and I am so excited. It is May. Spring has finally sprung here, I think, in Minnesota. My lilac bushes have literally overnight started to bud. So this is a great month. May is a great month to kind of look at things a little differently as spring brings new beginnings, new growth, new birth, all of those wonderful things. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Stegall. I am the host here of the Wonder Series. And the Wonder Series, what is the Wonder Series? Well, let's think about this. Have you ever wondered what life would be like if you looked at it from another perspective? What could you learn by opening your mind to other ideas and other concepts? Who would you become if you welcomed the possibilities and embraced the opportunities that are at your fingertips? So truly, my goal here at the Wonder Series is to help you open your mind to new opportunities. And every week, our interviews feature world-class experts in various areas of health, wellness, personal development, and bringing more fun into life, who inspire you with their insight and their wisdom. Here, you will receive tips and proven strategies that you can use right away. Truly what we want to make sure that we're doing, and I want your insight here, everyone. We are here to excite, to engage, to educate, but truly to empower you to become the person you have always intended to be, creating a life that is healthy, happy, and purpose-filled that you absolutely love. A new episode of the Wonder Series is released every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you find your podcasts. And truly, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, give the Wonder Series a 5-star rating. And then while you're there, tell your friends about us too. So welcome to the Wonder Series, where we want you to start wondering, to start living. In May, we have an incredible lineup of experts who will empower you to look at your nutrition in a new way. We're going to help you deliciousize your diet and find that healthy, happy lifestyle that works for you. Specifically today, this is going to be really exciting, everyone. We are going to deliciousize that diet. Yes, we did come up with that word here at Living Healthy List, just to make things more interesting. But we are going to help you to deliciousize your diet by discovering the importance of spices. So my guest today is the lovely Andrea Haley Shankaran. Hey, Andrea is a nutrition and digestive health coach. She's also known as the Joyful Chef. She's a teacher, community leader, and the creator of courses, protocols, and tools that empower women to take control of their eating and their health. Hundreds of women now eat well, live well, and feel well as a result of her strategies, her passion, and her compassion to advance their success. Andrea, welcome to the Wonder Series.
Thanks, Denise. It's so wonderful to be here. Speaking of the Wonder Series.
Thank you. And it is wonderful to have you, my dear friend. It is so fun to have you here because you are somebody who I always turn to, whether it's speaking to you or going to your website, when I am in need of something new and exciting to cook in my kitchen. So I'm really thrilled that you're here to talk to us about something a little unique, I think, for most people. Yes. So tell everybody a little bit about you, what you do, how you work with your clients, and then let's kind of dig into it and talk about all those different ways and how spices can make life more interesting.
Yeah. So what I do is I love to empower women to find personalized, so very important, personalized, individualized diet and lifestyle habits. And And I mentioned lifestyle because it's kind of the routine that goes around the diet is almost more important than the diet itself, or we could say they're equally important. So when I work with people, we go through routine, right? In terms of the breakfast, the lunch, and the supper, and having a morning routine and having a lunch routine and having an evening routine and fitting the meals in there so that the entire life is calmer. You could say it's more arranged and you know what to do. And there's balance and, like I said, calm in that process. So maybe I guide people from chaos to calm.
I think that I really like the way you just said that, because part of what you do when you're working with clients, and I've been very fortunate to have done one of Andrea's 6-week programs. That's just fantastic. And I've taken a few of her cooking classes as well, which I highly recommend, by the way.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I think, especially in the beginning, that I really appreciate is that you're very calm yourself. You are very patient and methodical in your teaching in a very positive way. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, chaos to calm.
Yeah, I love to break things down for people. And I think that's what people really appreciate about what I do. So I do Ayurveda. That's my modality. And a lot of the listeners here have probably heard of Ayurveda. And if they don't know too much, what they probably know or think is that it's a little complicated. It's a little hard to grasp and even harder to apply to their lives. Mm-hmm. And so I think what I really pride myself on is making Ayurveda very practical and step by step, breaking it down. I've been criticized actually for being too detail oriented. But if you want to learn that thing, you need that, right? So that's the empowerment piece. Like, I have such high compliance among my students and clients because I really show them step by step how to do the things. And I think that makes such a huge difference. There's so much knowledge in the world, but where we really learn is when we actually implement and practice things in our lives.
Absolutely. And it's that those fundamentals that I think so many times people kind of skip over. And I would say what my experience with Ayurveda has been is if you skip over that, you're just trying to read a recipe and it doesn't really make sense. Like, why are you doing this in this certain way? And why are you mixing these spices together?
Right.
To me, it seems very random otherwise.
That's right. Yeah. So when you get it in your heart. So I have one client who signed up with me for a year of one-on-one support because she understood one simple thing, which is something I said, which is that we need to cook food for ourselves in order for the energy and the love that we put into the food to be felt and experienced by us. That food cooked by others or restaurants or takeout food, it's not the same. Mm-hmm. Those people don't care about us. And so we need to cook. And this student had never cooked for herself before, not really cooked. She prepared food, but in terms of putting something in a skillet or putting something in a pot, that was not something that she was doing. She was using the microwave. And this one light bulb moment has changed everything for her. It's so amazing.
That is truly amazing, because I know one of the other words we use a lot is, we use the word energy. Everything is energy and energy flows. And if you're bringing positive energy, you have a positive feeling in your food. The negative energy works also. If you're eating out a lot and using the microwave and all of the processed foods, I definitely can see, I've definitely felt, truly the difference in, when I go out for dinner with my husband on Fridays, we have date night. So that's what we do. Mm-hmm. It's the one night I don't cook.
Yep.
And it's different. It's great. There's an energy because we're out and we're talking to one another, but the food is really secondary. Where when we're at home, the meal is, our conversation is based around a meal.
Oh, that's lovely. And yeah, I want to say here, because I just, kind of gave it away that I'm the one that holds the flag for cooking because I teach cooking. I love to cook. I am the joyful chef. I think that message needs to get out there. But I also am very much about still enjoying the foods you love, never feeling deprived. I think, Denise, you talk about the 80-20 rule, right? We still need room in our lives, obviously, to go out and enjoy ourselves and have the takeout and have whatever. But the foundation of cooked, cooking for yourself and healthy foods, if you have that, that is transformational to not just your physical health, but also mind, body, and spirit.
So I know a lot of times when you're talking about food and cooking and Ayurveda, there's a connection with what you're eating and your digestion.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Explain how, I think we kind of know what food does, but tell us about like, how does real food, that's my term.
Yep.
How does eating healthfully in an Ayurvedic way help your gut and help your digestion?
Okay. Yes. So
big question.
Yes. What is Ayurvedic cooking? What makes Ayurvedic cooking different, right? So we've already hinted at the energy. There's a different approach, you could say. You try to be a little more mindful in the selection and the cooking process, in the eating, right? You're mindful about the fact that you are cooking. But then it's about how you combine your foods and your flavors together so that you create a balanced dish. And this balance is important because when you achieve balanced flavor and even balanced textures, you get to that point where if you've ever watched, there's so many cooking shows, Americans love cooking shows. And when the judge gets a dish that is so incredibly good and you watch them and they're eating that dish and they're just, you can tell that they're savoring everything throughout their whole body. And they don't say a word until they've savored. And then they'll say, oh, amazing, incredible, delicious. Well, I call that bliss. I call that blissful. It's a blissful experience. And so I teach people how to create that blissful experience by balancing the 6 tastes of Ayurveda. So in Ayurveda, we talk about 6 tastes, which are sweet. We all know sweet, but we might not realize, that most everything we eat is sweet, right? Like meat is sweet, most dairy is sweet, grains are sweet, the majority of vegetables are sweet, the majority of fruits are sweet, nuts and seeds are sweet. So we have a tremendous amount of sweet in our diet. And in Ayurveda, too much sweet leads to being overweight, leads to obesity, it leads to diabetes, and it can even lead to cancer. It's a disease of excess. And so then we get into the other tastes. We have sour is the next one. And most of us know sour also. It's probably the second most popular taste in our culture. So tomatoes and lemons and limes and vinegars and anything fermented. Then we have salty, which primarily comes from salt. Now we get into the territory that's a little lesser traveled. And the first one is pungent. Many people say, oh, I don't like spicy food. So pungent, yes, is chilies. Yes, is garlic. But it's also onions, and it's also olive oil, and it's also a whole lot of our spices and herbs. Even basil has a pungent flavor. So herbs and spices, a lot of them are pungent. And then we get into astringent, and lentils and beans are primarily astringent. Broccoli, apples, avocados, cranberries, grapes. So astringent is that taste that is a little rough and drying in the back of your mouth. Lettuce is astringent, right? So, and then the last one is bitter. And bitter is my absolute favorite of the 6 tastes. It's so powerful. Of course, a lot of people, again, say, I don't like bitter. And kale would be probably the most common bitter. But bitter is so powerful because it's powerful because it completes the six tastes when it's in the dish. And in so doing, it enhances flavor and leads to that bliss. So here's the problem. If you have a dish that's overly sweet or overly sour, overly salty, how do you feel after you eat that?
Not good. Kind of either your stomach bothers you or well, my stomach bothers me or I feel unsatisfied. I think that's probably the bigger thing. Like I want something else.
Exactly. And I say it's because we're naturally tuned to balance. We want balance. The mind wants balance, and satisfaction is balance. And the six tastes in balance make you feel satisfied and balanced. And when you have an imbalance, too salty, too sweet, you feel dissatisfied and you're literally craving something, even if you can't really identify what that something is. You want something, and then that leads to food cravings due to the dissatisfaction in your meal, in your eating. And so just to finish off that thing, the other tastes, especially the pungent, astringent, and bitter tastes, are essential to balance that predominance of sweet that's in our diet. And we're not using those. Most people are not using these tastes. And that's why we have the problem with sweet. And so it balances our health, but it also helps us to feel satisfied and takes care of food cravings and many other things, and even makes our minds and emotions more balanced. So there's so many benefits of cooking with the six tastes. And it's very simple, just getting an idea of what's included in the six tastes and just putting a little bit of thought, creating your meal, and then sitting down and running through. Can I taste the sweet? Can I taste the sour? Can I taste the salt? Can I taste the pungent? Can I taste the astringent? And can I taste the bitter? And if anything's missing, you go back and you get something of that taste that will complete the meal. And the difference can be like night and day, truly, just by the addition of one thing. And you practice that for a little while, and it's totally different for you. It's amazing.
I completely understand that. So when I took one of your cooking classes, we made a butternut squash soup. And I've made butternut squash soup many times. I never made it with this one ingredient. And when I read the ingredient list, I thought, okay, that has to be a typo.
Was it radish?
No, it was lime.
Okay.
And I thought, lime in butternut squash soup. I'm like, I really hesitated. And we were on looking at each other. You were cooking, we were all cooking together. And I had the lime and I'm going, I don't know if I want to do this. But truly, I trust you. And so I added it just a little bit. I'm like, okay, added a little more. All of a sudden, the flavor started to change. I added just a teeny bit more.
Yep.
And I could not believe how different this dish was.
Awesome.
How often I've had butternut squash soup that was so sweet, like candied walnuts and all sorts of like sweet.
Yeah, cloying.
Yeah, like just too, and I can't eat that anymore. And I haven't, through the years, like I've, my tastes have changed as I've learned more about nutrition and adding the Ayurvedic principles.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't, it's ruined me for going out and having a butternut squash soup because they're missing. And these are good restaurants with good chefs, but they're still missing something. And I think you made a good point earlier. It's because they don't know us. They don't care about us. They're making the food that people are going to eat because they're used to the sweet, like you mentioned.
It is. You mentioned your palate has changed over time. Mm-hmm. And so they think that people want all this sweet food. And well, maybe they do, but that doesn't mean that they can't appreciate something else. That's because I find that I'm always blown away when people cook my food or cook my recipes or come and eat with me. The feedback I get, like that was the best meal I can remember, or it brings back memories of my grandmother's cooking or whatever it is. It's incredible how much of a difference it can make. And Denise, that's joy. That's joy that we can pick up and have every single day of our lives.
I really appreciate that, because I think so often everyone's like, oh, I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. And like, we're looking for this like panacea, and it's so simple.
Yeah. It's just refining daily habits. I think that's what I'm all about, personalizing, fitting into your lifestyle, the foods you love, how to cook them in a way that's even more satisfying, even more balanced, and especially in a way that you can digest them, because that's kind of part of what all of this is about. When we're adding in all those other tastes and we're adding in the spices and the herbs, it's actually essential to support our digestion and our metabolism of the foods that we're eating. There's so many nutrients and minerals and different things in our food that our body has to interpret. And do you know that that's what the spices do? The spices are like the decoders of the food for the body.
I did not know that. Writing that down.
Yeah. They assist in the absorption and the assimilation of the nutrition, which is very complex. Our food is fueling everything in this incredibly divine and complex body of ours. And there's so much wisdom and intelligence in that process. And so we talk a lot about the intelligence of food. And that's, intelligent food is food that comes from nature. And that's why the importance of cooking. And it's really easy at that level. If you just choose foods from nature and you include spices in your food, in your cooking, and you balance your 6 tastes, you're providing your body with this incredibly intelligent source of energy, which can then create a very healthy body, mind, and spirit. It's us. The cause of disease is actually us getting in the way of what is already provided in terms of divine intelligence, as it's reflected in nature, as it's reflected in the order of the universe or the cosmos, or however it is you want to understand it, this creation that we live in. Health is something that is very easy for us to have. Like I said, if we would only just get out of our own way. So I see that Denise has left me here on my own. So I'm just going to keep chatting. So we were talking about digestion and that assimilation process. So in Ayurveda, we actually talk about the digestion process taking 35 days, because there's a set of, there's an order to the way the digestion happens. It actually starts in your digestive tract. And for 5 days, your digestive tract is getting nourished. And then it moves into your blood plasma. And then it moves into your red blood cells. And then it moves into your muscle. And then it moves into your fat. And then it moves into your muscle. And then it moves into your bone. And then it moves into your bone marrow and your nerve tissue. And then it moves into your reproductive tissues. So there's 7 tissues that get nourished over the course of 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, which is why it takes 35 days. And it's an ordered thing, right? So if one part is in excess or deficient, then everything else down the line suffers. And so if you think about that, you can understand why the reproductive tissues and reproductive organs and fertility has become such a problem in our society. It actually starts with our poor nutrition at the beginning. And so that's how important our food is. So I'm just going to check my messages here and see, since this is live. Yeah, Denise says she's coming back. So what else about spices? Yeah, it's funny what Denise experienced with that soup and the butternut soup and the lime. And I asked her if there was radish, because I think I put radish in my soups because radish has a pungent taste, radish has a bitter taste, and we need a lot of the different tastes to balance out the extreme sweet taste of the butternut squash. The butternut squash is a great example. I could also talk about yam or sweet potato, which is similar, right? So my students just love putting lime on their sweet potatoes or their yams. Roast them. Roasting makes them even sweeter. If you steam them, they'll be less sweet. So it's up to you. But either way, putting a little bit of lime onto your yam or sweet potato, and then a little bit of butter or ghee. So you might have heard about ghee. Ghee is really big in Ayurveda. It's considered to be the healthiest fat on the planet and the best source of fat for your gut health, for your digestion. And so what is ghee? Ghee is a type of clarified butter. I just love making ghee. The process of making ghee is a beautiful one. I think most of us probably love or enjoy butter. My food blog, where I have a lot of recipes, is actually called Buttered Veg. So butteredveg.com is where you can find a lot of vegetarian recipes and experience the 6 taste way of cooking for yourself. But the ghee comes from the butter. So the way it's made is you take whole blocks of butter and put them in a nice solid pot on low heat on your stove, and you melt the butter, and then you get to observe the transformation of the butter. And so you see that first the milk solids come out of the butter, and the butter is very cloudy and filled with these solids. And over time, and there's also a foam that you see on top. And then over time, as it simmers, slowly simmers, what happens is the butter clarifies as all the milk solids sink out of the butter and they settle onto the bottom of the saucepan where they caramelize. And as they caramelize, they start to emit this beautiful nutty taste and flavor and aroma into the ghee, into the clarified butter. And then once it's golden brown on the bottom, it's done. And the whole process takes about an hour for a pound of butter. Like I said, it's very low temperature. And then you strain it off. And what's amazing about the ghee is that it's almost entirely lactose free because the lactose lives in the milk solids. It's also free of moisture. And so it stores at room temperature in the cupboard. Doesn't need to go in the fridge. And you can cook with this ghee just like any other cooking oil. And, in my experience and also others, it can take a minute to get into cooking with the ghee. But once you do, most people find that they love it. And why the ghee is special. Hi, Denise.
Hi.
Chatting away.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Internet just decided to stop. Well, so thank you. Thank you. So you were talking about ghee.
I was. I described the process of making ghee and then how they would cook with it. And then I was just going to bring it back around to the spices, actually. So that'll bring us back to where we were. When you use ghee, it has very subtle and refined properties. It's considered to be very light as a fat. and very subtle because of the way it's made. In terms of its energy, it's seen as the best carrier of nutrition and medicine into the cells. So because it's a fat, it actually, it binds with the nutrition and the different things that we need, and it carries that nutrition into the cells. And then because it's fat, it can attract toxins to it to bring out of the cells. And so it's like this two-way communicator. It's quite amazing. And a lot of the traditional Ayurvedic formulas are made with ghee for this reason, because of its ability to deliver nutrition and medicine. And of course, our biggest medicine is our food. And so that too is the medicine. And so it's just encouraging the audience to learn more about ghee and consider trying it out and cooking with it.
I think that's fantastic, because interestingly, I have been cooking with ghee in the last few years, but I never really knew why, other than it was recommended.
Yeah.
It was, it was part of the recipe.
Right.
So,
good.
Okay, so here, even I need to do some more research.
That's my trick. By putting ghee in all my recipes, I get more people to use it.
There we go, everyone. Easy enough. So real quickly, so somebody's new at this. What do we do? We now know the flavors and some of the foods that are in those flavors. Is it really as simple as kind of picking some or one or two from each of the categories?
Yeah. So to create a meal, start with what your main food is. So you mentioned butternut squash earlier. So that's very sweet. So if I'm cooking with that, the first thing I'm thinking is, how can I balance out all this sweet taste? So that's why I mentioned, did it have radish in it? Because I actually think the butternut squash soup on my website has radish, because that brings in pungent and bitter taste. And you know that the lime brings in bitter taste as well.
Yes.
Lemon is a sour, and lime is a sour bitter. So many foods have dual taste profiles. And so you're getting bitter in there with the lime. I would also consider adding, a green leafy vegetable for even more bitter, because that sweet is quite sweet. And the pungency is essential too. So I'd be adding some red chili in there, maybe some ginger. That's why a carrot ginger or butternut squash ginger works quite well. And then the lime is the sour and the bitter. So what about the astringent? Yeah, so leafy greens brings in the astringent. And you could have, so the leafy greens you could have with the soup. So if you're going to have the soup be a little bit more on the sweet side, but it's still got some of all the six tastes, add some maybe thyme leaf or, some other kind of herb that would give you a bit of astringent in there. So it's still there, but maybe it's not fully balanced. Then you want to think about what you're having with it. So a nice side of leafy greens would be wonderful with the butternut squash soup. What else would I have? Maybe a grain, because I'm vegetarian. So, but obviously you can also have meat with it. But that's my point, is you start with your main thing. And I encourage people, most people today want to eat more vegetables. So I love starting with the vegetable. So what am I going to have? The main vegetable, and then kind of building from there.
I love that idea, because yes, I talk about a plant forward diet very often at Living Healthy List, and when I'm talking to people and when I was coaching. And I think that's really important, because most people will say, well, I don't want salad. I don't want to eat a salad every day.
Yeah, salad's boring.
It is. And there's so many more fun and enjoyable ways to enjoy vegetables now. And this offers people, our listeners, a really good kind of opener. Like again, I started saying earlier, it's spring, new beginnings. It's a great time to try some new recipes. Speaking of recipes, I know you've got a couple things. One, you have an amazing blog. So I'd love for you to tell us about that. And then I think you have something very special for us.
Yeah, so I do. I have a food blog. That's actually how I got started sharing publicly, putting myself out there, acting on my passion, which I've been which I've had for 25 years. I don't know what it is, but I got bitten by this bug in my early 20s, and it has always been a deep passion of mine. I cooked professionally, and have always pursued cooking as a home cook. And the more elemental, the better. It's just been such a joy in my life. And so I worked as a journalist. I have a master's degree in journalism. And when I left that career, I left it to explore this passion. And the first thing that I did was starting this food blog called Buttered Veg. So I just spoke about ghee and, butter. Ghee is made from butter, and I love butter too. And the concept there is food that's incredibly flavorful and satisfying. And so those are the kinds of recipes that you'll find. And they are vegetarian. I don't advocate vegetarianism. You can eat whatever you want. And most of my students are omnivores, and that's totally cool. But I find that the biggest need out there in the world is the need to learn how to cook vegetables in a way that they truly enjoy them. So that, and I say this on my blog, so that you want to eat, so you eat them because you want to, not because you think you should. So
good point.
You eat them because you love them. Yeah. And that you don't even miss the meat. It's that good. And I think that the experience has proved that out. So make sure that you check out butteredveg.com and find your first recipe and make a commitment to yourself that you're going to make it, and see if you can notice the difference and see if you can identify the 6 tastes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Andrea, before we go, do want to ask for you to tell us, aside from the blog, I know you have a website. I'd love for you to tell people how they can connect with you online, how they can talk with you, and how they can work with you.
Okay, great. So I actually have 2 websites. So that's my food blog. And then I have an Ayurveda site, which is called goodgutayurveda.com. So Good Gut. And then Ayurveda is Ayurveda. And on there, on the homepage, they can subscribe to my newsletter. And when they subscribe, they can get my 3 gut healthy recipes ebook. And so those are some of my most popular and easy to make recipes to get you started. And if you really enjoyed what you heard today and you think, oh man, I want some of that in my life, then I invite you to check out on my website. You can see Work with Me. And on that page, you'll find information on how you could schedule a consultation call with me, a free discovery call to explore how we might work together. And like I said, how you might be able to transform your life in some of these ways. Well, how you could, how you would, how you can. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much for being here on the Wonder Series. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to learn more about Ayurveda and more about nutrition. And I think we definitely reached our goal today about helping people to deliciousize their diet.
Oh, absolutely.
By using the 6 flavors of or 6 tastes of Ayurveda. So thank you again, Andrea. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. If you have any questions, you can find the information, how to connect with Andrea or how to connect with me at the Wonder Series. You'll find that in the show notes on YouTube and in our Facebook group. Our Facebook group, of course, is Living Healthy List. So thank you again, everyone. We're here every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And until next time, I leave you with this: start wondering to start living. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.